Welcome back to Count Me In, IMA's podcast about all things affecting the accounting and finance world. Today's episode will be another bonus episode of our IMA Focus mini-series. Over the last few months, we've interviewed former IMA Young Professional Award winners and asked them specific questions about their early careers.
Through this episode, we will feature snippets of 4 different conversations that highlight different aspects of an accounting and finance professional's early observations of the industry. Our featured speakers, respectively, are Jayada Samudra, Izz Ansari, Tiffany Larsen, and Hari Ramasubramanian.
These young professionals talked to us about their educational background and early starts, vital skills to advancing through their careers, what strong leadership looks like, and provide advice for entering into the accounting world. Let's listen now. Could you please tell us a little bit about your background and what you're currently working on?
Sure. So I would say that the interesting thing about my background would be that I get to have that in 2 different cultures. One was in India and one was in United States. And I would say it would be in 2 different ways, as I got a blend of accounting and finance. Academically, I would start academically. So I am a certified management accountant. I already pursued my CMA 2 years ago, and I would be graduating right now in August with my 3rd master's. I would say it's a blend of 2 because I started off with my undergraduates in accounting and later on did my first master's in accounting, but then moved over to finance to pursue MBA in finance, and right now I'm graduating with my MS in finance. Right now, I'm working as a graduate assistant in enrollment and admissions, where I'm acting as a counselor for the students. I'm helping the enrollment division to budget and forecast the prospective students and how the things are going to work with the incoming freshmen.
What role do presentation and effective communication skills play on the job? Is it critical to have these skills at every level, in your opinion?
Yes, actually, the truth is that technical skills, while they're very important and we cannot underestimate the importance of those skills, they can only take you to a certain level. After that, what really matters is how you present your point, because after every time that you have applied your technical skills and done your work, there comes a point when you either have to explain your work to someone or convince someone to see it your way. And that can be in both verbal or written forms. In verbal forms, it can be in the form of a meeting in which you have to convince, for example, your boss or your clients to see it your way, or to convince them that what you have done actually reflects the actual scenario, or in a written form, which can be in the form of a report where you have to present your findings and justify them also. So just as an example, if I were to quote something from my work, if I am working on a financial model and I have taken some assumptions in my model, I have to later justify them that whatever I've done technically makes sense, right? In the simplest words, it makes sense. So it will depend on how well I articulate my thoughts and how well I present them so that they sound justified and convincing to whoever I'm presenting them to. So yeah, I think that communication and presentation skills really do matter. And your the second part of your question was, is it a critical skill to have at every level? Well, of course, because these skills actually make you stand out no matter what level you're at. First of all, it makes you receptive to new ideas and new thoughts, which we generally don't count in effective communication and presentation skills, but it actually matters, because if you have good communication skills, you're actually also receptive to new ideas. You're actually also a good listener. And plus, you also know how to respond well to any situation that comes up, whether it be in a meeting or just, a random hi, hello with a client or something like that. You know how to respond well to that situation. And that also includes your body language, non-verbal cues that you give with your body. When it comes to every level, well, for example, if you were to talk about the most junior member on a team, he or she has to explain his or her work to whoever is supervising him or her. When it comes to managers or directors or partners in firms, or just CEOs or CFOs, if we go up to that level, they're like walking and talking brands for the company or whatever firm they're representing, right? So even at the level of partners or managers or directors or CEOs or CFOs, at each point of time, and they have to present themselves at their best, because they are walking and talking brands for their company or professional firm or whatever they're representing.
In your opinion, as leadership skills are developed by individuals, if you were someone who is entering a team or on the outside looking in at an accounting team, how do you identify who the leaders are? What are some of those really signs of strong leadership within an accounting team?
I think that they trust each other, that when there's a problem, there's a lot of communication. They're asking for advice and to think things through. And you can kind of tell who the leaders are because they're kind of the go-to person. For example, in my previous job, if someone in finance sent in a request to our systems administrator asking for a change, that person would come to me because they knew I'd be able to explain the request in a way they would understand. That there were some managers that trying to talk with the system admin, it wasn't effective because they weren't talking the same language, and the system admin didn't have a background in accounting. She was really good at programming. And so the leaders are those people go to for advice, that they seek out their knowledge to build their skills, that they know that person has different tools that are relevant. And all of this is on trust. If there's a culture and you think that by sharing an information, somebody else is going to take your idea, claim it as your own, and they get ahead on your idea, well, that's not a sign of trust. If everybody's helping each other out to get the work done, because sometimes you're going to be busier than your colleague. And so if there's just this trust, then one way to get trust is to have a feedback loop. And depending on your relationship with the person or your needs, your communication style this feedback loop is going to be different. And so this could be like when I was a remote employee, I'd have one-on-one meetings with my boss 2 to 3 times a month. It was just dedicated time for us to talk in private. Other times it would just be less formal, just the conversation. Hey, I'm having this problem. Can you help me with it? Just make sure it meets your needs. And so one way to be a leader, you got to listen to others, because a good leader doesn't know everything, and they trust the people around them to be confident. And strong teams, good ideas can come from everybody, or one person will have an idea and they kind of just build off each other.
Well, it sounds like you have a lot of really interesting perspectives on advancing through the accounting profession. So I'm just curious, if you were to talk with a student or even an accounting professor, maybe someone who's already in the field very early on in their career, what advice or suggestions do you give them in order to effectively advance through through their careers?
The advice that I have for students is that they should invest in understanding the concepts. I find a lot of students investing time in clearing the exams and completing the course, but they lack a long-term view of what education should provide them. So it's not just about clearing the exams and getting a job. That's not the end goal of education. The end goal of education is to improve your ability to think on your own. And that is the reason why in whatever courses I instruct, I ensure that I motivate my students by telling them why is a particular concept important, or what was the evolution behind the concepts that they learn. I think that was one important skill set that I imbibed as a student, and that really helped me to become successful as a student. And I think that is really helping me as a PhD student as well, because at the end of the day, research is about explaining the real world phenomena. You see a real world phenomena, what is happening in the real world, and you want to explain why certain thing is happening, because unless and until you understand why certain thing is happening, you cannot replicate it. So I think that that's very important to understand why certain phenomena happens, because then you can, then others can learn from it. So that one thing I think cannot be, underweighted or undermined, is the fact that you should focus on the conceptual understanding of whatever we are learning. So it may be any subject that you learn, but invest in the basics. And investing in basics is about repetition. And when you repeat the things again and again and again, that's when you get better clarity. You can't believe when I say this, there are a lot of concepts that I have already learned multiple times, but when I hear a senior professor talk about the same concept, and I get a different perspective, and I think, oh, I'm glad that I attended this session, although I knew this concept, but I did not know that there was this aspect to this concept. And that really is a useful learning that I get. And one of the quotes that I always believed in is the fact that the difference between an amateur and a professional is the fact that an amateur, practices till he gets it right. So once you get it right, you are said, okay, I am moving on. But a professional practices till the time he can't get it wrong, which means he practices to such an extent that I know that I cannot go wrong.
This has been Count Me In, IMA's podcast, providing you with the latest perspectives of thought leaders from the accounting and finance profession. If you like what you heard and you'd like to be counted in for more relevant accounting and finance education, visit IMA's website at www.imanet.org.